writer, theater practitioner from Naples, Italy. Based in Barcelona, he's full professor in performing arts, performance theory, and storytelling, and has held leadership roles for nearly a decade at the Institute of Arts Barcelona. He has authored over 11 books and edited numerous peer-reviewed journal articles, contributing to fields such as theater and performing arts, comparative drama, film, and cultural studies. Armando Rotondi has presented more than 50 papers at diverse international conferences across the globe, and he's member of an EXCOM as part of the editorial board at the European Journal of Theatre and Performance. Currently, Armando Rotondi continues to engage in new artistic projects, one of which is his still unstaged play titled Three, a monologue for actress inspired by the masterpiece of Shota Rustavelli. Thank you, dear Rotondi. I give you word. A microphone is yours.
Hello, thank you so much. Can you hear me, first of all?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect.
You can share your presentation now.
Perfect. I will share in few seconds. So thank you so much for the invitation as one of the keynote speakers for this conference, also for the topic of the conference itself, and for the words that my colleague Vanska said now, also because I felt that is a very relevant topic that also with the previous conference that we organized with ISTAP, the European Association for the Study of Theatre and Performance. I was the organizer of that conference in 2024, was dedicated to very similar topic on a way of ecosystems and ecology of theatre and performances, where the idea of art and humanity was one of the core. So for me, it was absolutely a pleasure to have this specific invitation. Now, if I can share my screen here, you can see my...
I see your screen, yes.
Perfect, thank you so much. So the paper or the topic that I would like to present today is dedicated to a very specific play that is R.U.R. by Karel Čapek, and specifically on the rethinking of R.U.R. by Karel Čapek nowadays, considering it a practical case study of adaptation, roboaesthetics, contemporary theater, that I feel it fits very well with the main concept of art and humanity that is the core of this specific conference. So, as we know, R.U.R. by Karel Čapek is the first play that in 1920 and then premiered in 1921 introduced a very specific term in the way how we consider the term nowadays, that is the term robots, into a global vocabulary, really starting this tradition of cultural, philosophical inquiry through theater, film, literature, and so on, of the contrast, the clash, and the relation between what does it mean being human, what does it mean being robotic or a mechanism. I also decided to talk about this specific topic because, as was said in my presentation, in the introduction to my profile, I don't work only as an academic, but together with my academic activities, I work as a playwright and as a dramaturg. And this is part of a kind of research through practice that me and my colleague, Guy Bar-Amotz, we explore, starting in my institute at the Institute of Arts Barcelona, where Guy and Jasmine Bardemon were together, artists in residence, together with some students, and then we explore at a professional level, and we performed the second part of this show in venues such as the one of the Prague Biennale in 2023. Me as a co-director together with Guy and playwright adapting the script of Karel Čapek, and Guy working as co-director and working in the robotic mask and the robotic elements of the show. It's also very important because considering an era like the one of nowadays, with artificial intelligence, automation, algorithm governance, machine learning system are always more daily part of our life. The work of Karel Čapek already in 1920, and then when we reread for the centennial in 2020-21, is much more than a speculative fiction as it was in the past. It become really an ethical diagnosis of how we can consider nowadays. And in a way, the two main questions that we can see in R.U.R, and I will say in few seconds what R.U.R means, are clearly the first one. What happens when humans create something artificial, in that case, artificial workers? What remains distinctively human when machines simulate cognition, creativity, and emotion? The great elements of a play as R.U.R, who means Rossum's Universal Robots, by Karel Čapek, that even if it's clearly coming from a previous tradition of artificial being, for example, Karel Čapek being a Bohemian writer, is coming from a tradition that is, for example, also has its own roots in the concept, for example, of the Prague's Golem. That is a prototype of the robots that Karel Čapek will describe in his play, in his four-act play. Clearly, we have already the establishment of a leitmotif, of a key element of how this kind of narrative can be processed and can be supported. The human beings create artificial workers. The human beings create artificial workers who simulate cognition, evolution. So necessarily there will be rebellion. There will be a crash and a clash among two community, two group of people, two group of new people, using the clearly the terms people in a very simplistic way. And this is something that I will consider also at the end of my presentation. In analyzing R.U.R in the version that we create, and I will show some specific images, I will show some specific video, I will show the card and technical card, the credits of the work. I will consider very briefly during the presentation clearly some theoretical approach. First of all, something that is related to what I did and what I use in adapting the script from Čapek to our own version, specifically some elements of Linda Hudson, the seminal, the adaptation theory seminal books by Linda Hudson, clearly some elements of performance theory taken by Auslander or Erika Fischer-Lichter, element of robo-aesthetics, also comparing the robots that we created, that as we can see, they want to be very rough and very simplistic compared to other kind of robo arts, robo theater, and robo installation that are moving into a visual uncanny valley that, as you can see in the picture that we have here, we decide to avoid, as well as some elements of post-human philosophy, clearly Bredotti, Ailes, and so on. So, when we consider the original source, it is Rossum's Universal Robots, we have to consider the moment in time where Karel Čapek, that is one of the most relevant playwright from Bohemia, from Central Europe, wrote. So clearly we are in 1920, then premiere in 1921, in a post-World War I mechanized capitalism, but is a capitalism, a mechanization of the capitalism that guided Europe into destruction. There is a clear criticism of elements such as the one of the assembly production Taylorism, and also when we see the robots as synthetic biological workers, is a critique also of the possible reinforcement of science in relation to moral, ethical, and also religious issue, and also from a fake, false promise, that is the one of the liberation from the human being from the labor, from the working, that necessarily is giving a catastrophic outcome, revolt and then extinction. Now, in the classical narrative of the extinction, clearly that has been then, let's say, developed in cinematography, in film, in cinema tradition, very often and many times without a clear ending, but the ending is the resolution in reality of the plot. In Karel Čapek is almost an open ending that showed that the extinction is necessarily a double extinction, the one of the human being, the one of the mechanical robotic being, if they are not able to talk, to discuss, to physically merge into each other. So the revolt is absolutely going into the extinction. But if there is a industrial modernity critique, at the same time, we can see that Čapek is already putting some elements that are more related into another sphere, into a philosophical, symbolic, religious realms. First of all, the beings that we have, they are not necessarily metallic, but they are organic. Physically, they don't differ from the human being, but they are designed without specific elements such as pleasure, art, soul, and so on. In the first act of the play, when we have this character, Elena Glory, who's entering, who is going to visit the R.U.R, the Rossum Universal Robots factory, led by Henry Domin, we have a discussion among these two characters, and in a way is also written in a very conventional way, absolutely in a conventional way, between them about how we can recognize a robot from a human being. And clearly this recognition of a robot from a human being should be according to the way we are talking and they are responding to us. So if they are able to respond in a specific way according to some specific topic related to memory, related to emotion, related to soul, and in the dialogue between Elena and a first robot, Sulla, is very difficult for the human character to recognize the robot character. In a way, this idea of questioning in order to recognize, in order to receive information, analyze the information, is not very dissimilar in the way how is figured in the first part of the play from what, for example, in computer science, in scientific field, Alan Turing is thinking, is presenting in a very simplistic way, I would say, in how I'm presenting now, in the Turing test. In the Rossum's Universal Robot, we can see that all the characters, they have an allegorical or symbolic elements, almost all the characters. Rossum's Universal Robot, so the factory of robots created by a character that is not present there because he's already dead at the beginning of the play, that is Rossum, whose name is clearly a name that means reason. Harry Domin, leader of the factory, Dominus. Elena Glory. Glory as a kind of idealistic element. One of the head engineer, also a villain alchemist. So each character of the human represent a kind of core elements that is a function in the play to make the play work. In this context, as also we said before, there is a critique of the capitalism, and in this context, the humanity for Karel Čapek is defined by productivity. So we produce and we are human because we are producing, we are oppressed because we are producing. We can free ourselves only if we are free not to produce anymore because something or someone else is producing for us. But in the moment that this other one is producing for us and this oppressed take has like an evolution into something that is a consciousness, a soul, an idea of what feelings are. And so there is an existential crisis in the machine and in the human, and the clash when the machine notices that they're almost in everything superior to human, apart in one specific thing, that is the possibility of recreating themselves, in the possibility of giving birth to themselves as the human beings are doing. So they cannot be considered like perfect machine. Thematically, so we are not only in the area of dystopia, but also into ontological uh, problems that are not only political, they're really existential problem, because the humanity becomes obsolete because is, as I said, it is defined itself by productivity. And so when the machine surpass the humans in efficiency, in a way also the economic rationale, the economic system of humanity collapse, and so humanity collapses in itself. Now, after this, I can go a little bit into what we did, and starting from this moment, I can also show a little bit clips and material that we produce, taken from the website of the performance. So, in the work of adaptation from the original play to our version, we first of all we found a difficulties in starting from a kind of source material, the play of Čapek, that was organized in a way that was conventional in how the dialogue pace, the dialogue sequence was presented. In a way, if Čapek was very innovative in the theme, in the topic, also in the content, in the morality it is presenting, because it was predicting something that later on, nowadays, is going to happen, but also creating, as I say, a complete new narrative in terms of content, in terms of formality, in terms of form, in terms of shape of the play, was quite conventional, mainly made by dialogues, very long dialogues, and characters that are very talkative. In our version, because it's a mix between performing arts, performance art, performers, and robot performative installation, the original play was not really working. Also, the division in four acts that we have at the beginning in the original play should have been reshaped into a more defined three acts, three section, three parts play, but using three different kind of style. So we work, and I work specifically in a way to consider the adaptation in the action way. So an adaptation as a final product, an adaptation as a creative process, an adaptation as a productive process. So considering clearly what I want to achieve at the end, how is the process creatively, the process of adaptation, what are the resources, and specifically the venue that we were going to use for the adaptation itself, in order not to lose the original sources, to make very clear that what the audience was going to experience, not necessarily to see, but to experience in an interactive way in some specific context, or in simply an immersive but passive observer way in other contexts, was clearly Čapek, but also something new. So was, as Lindachin used to say, a repetition without replication, was a variation on a specific concept, and was not only a modernization, but a dramaturgical rethinking of the work, trying to play with different layers. So starting from what was a conventional dialogue, and then step by step, going into a post-dramatic version of it, trying to cut and to work also in a very musical way. So what we what we try to create, for example, in the part two that we're going to see in few minutes, was very related to an idea almost of plunderphonics. Clearly was not only a modernization, because if we see how the masks are, the masks want to be necessarily, the robots want to be necessarily old-fashioned and visibly old-fashioned, compared, for example, to what the robotic arts and generally robotics can give nowadays. So there was a structure of the work that was in three parts. A part one that was a dialogic exposition, early 20th century tone. A part two that was a telegraphic montage with the cut-up technique, the one that I mentioned also before. Part three that was minimal symbolic transformation, and it was an hybrid version of part one and part two. We work a lot with the fragmentation and media layering and the transformation of a linear the transformation of this linear tragedy in something that can have moment of overlapping. Now, if I can stop a moment, this, I would like to go, condividi also suono, okay, into here, just a moment. Let's see. Just a moment, I have a problem with the sound. I have to, yeah, okay. Ok, condividi suono, ok. Ok. Sorry, I have a problem in the audio. They ask me for a password from Zoom.
Sorry, dear Hassan, maybe you want to,
No,
okay,
I solved, I solved,
I
I solved.
see your screen. Okay.
I solved.
And share sound and start.
Okay, perfect. So, okay, so this is the original project as was thought at the beginning. Can you see the screen?
Yes, yes.
Perfect.
To celebrate 100 years of the play, Bar-Amotz will collaborate with Armando Rotondi, will create a contemporary adaptation in a form of an immersive art installation and performance incorporating acting robots and living actors in a multi-scene environment. In the script, an undercover robot rights activist named Helena is visiting a robot factory, with the aim to disrupt production. But instead she get marry the factory's general manager and live with him in the factory. He takes refuge together with the rest of the human workers, barricaded in the factory headquarters when a robot rebellion is bringing the human race to near extinction. Ultimately, it is revealed that she was actually a robot too. Motorized space, dynamic lighting, video and sound. The new immersive display will break through the boundaries of linear participation in theatrical dramas.
This was the original presentation of the original project. So in a very, I would say, rough way of what we presented originally in 2018 to have the first funding for the project. And then we had from the Art Council UK, from Prague Biennale, and so on. And in this case, the original idea was only to have it as a performative installation with the audience that can enter from a place to another one. Then we decided to work on the body of the actor, but together with this mechanism of this robotic mask that they seems very rough, but in reality they are quite sophisticated in the way how they work. In the part one, that is the dialogic exposition, we started to put some specific key word like ready, that one of the character is going to present specifically one of the character of the robots, we decided to reduce the number of characters that we have in Karel Čapek, quite a lot, only into 5 units plus 2 voiceover. So we delete all the characters that are human apart from the protagonist Harry Domin, because we need a Dominus, we need a leader and then a glory, and 3 robots, Sulla, like the Radius and Primus. And in this case, the character of Sulla in the part 1 in a repetition is giving the tip, is giving the one that can be considered the getaway and the channel to enter in the part 2 that is organized in a telegraphic montage, in which we present in this telegraphic montage only one script and the words of the different characters melting and merging into each other to give an idea of dysfunction and not understanding of what is human and what is robotic at this specific moment. And at the same time, we are presenting there what could be considered the manifesto of the robot, the Robo Manifesto, that is basically now all robots all around the world unify, we have to attack. The attack. The attack is a very famous line that is in Čapek that we decided to keep it. In the third part, that is the minimal symbolic transformation, we are going into a dialogue between two entities. One is the Elena Glory in an uncanny way. We don't know if it's the real Elena Glory. And this new robots, this new figure of robots that is visually clearly Primus, the first one, in order to see how this evolution can continue. In this work, there is a work on repetition that creates mechanical rhythm. There is a kind of overlapping between humans that become to sound like machine, the element of acceleration and discontinuity, and there is a strong relation between a kind of theater, digital culture, but also analogic culture as possibility for digital culture. Going into the image that I have prepared, these are some images that we have from some of the work that we did. The first two, if you can see, they are from the Prague Biennale in 2023, where we presented an open rehearsal version of the part 2 of the show. So the one with the merging of all the elements together, working with, in this case, 4 actors. The 5th one is me here in the back. So 4 actors that have a training in acting technique or in performance art technique. In other contexts, we decided to work for the physicality with dancer and with choreographer. This specific version of the Praga Biennale was directed directly by me for the acting part. I also directed the voice recording, on which we work only with 2 different kind of voice, on which we try to give different quality and to make them working for all the characters together. Now, the mask that you have here, the one, for example, of this is Radius. They were taught originally to work in an interactive way with the audience, simply adapting the system that is the one of Ableton, the sound system, in order to receive the sound inputs and Ableton that was changed, that was adapted and so on, in order to give specific answer to an audience from an interactive perspective. More or less, each mask is, the weight is quite few kilos, so it is organized to have some anchor here for the shoulder because it's impossible to have them without having something that is on your back and on your shoulders, and is made only with material that is in a way not related to how a robot should be nowadays, how Android should be nowadays. Specifically, the work of Guy, who is an expert in robotic arts, is always the one of consider the robots as visible as a robot. So the mechanism of the robot should be absolutely clear. So with the wire, with the mini computer here and the mini computer that is going into the pocket of the performer, for example, here, as you can see in the on the side. But this element of having robots, having mechanism, having something mechanic, something artificial that clearly looks like artificial, was giving us another problem. That the problem is how can we create an overlapping of ideas, a merging of ideas or uncanny elements of ideas if the robots clearly look like robots. So the only way possible is to make also the one that are officially human beings look like robots. Uh, in the narrative itself, what we had, that we decided that the narrative itself and the expression itself was given by the robotic element. The physicality in the body was given by the human being. We had a lot of discussion between me and my colleague, also because I come from the world of playwriting, from the world of physical theater, and work from verbal theater, while Guy is coming from performance art, performative sculpture, and dance, being also the associate director for a choreography company, very important, is Jasmine Vardamon company, in how this physicality should be expressed. In my opinion, for example, in this version of Prague, we decided to go into very minimal movement. For example, the character that is central, the blonde one that is Elena Glory, was only characterized by one specific movement with the hands and the standing and going down that become very mechanic, trying to find a quality that could be at the same time visibly human, but also in the repetition visibly mechanic. So to create this element of doubt about who is who and how it works. If I may show very quickly, uh, uh, let's say, uh, a part of the show that is here. Go. Installation hard. Yeah. This is a teaser version of part 2.
Please share the sound.
Ah, sorry. Those that was. Yeah, sorry. Mm.
there is no sound, and
Sorry?
there is no sound anyway.
I put the sound. He hasn't started yet, the sound.
Okay.
Now can you hear?
Not yet.
Now?
Oh, yes, yes. Okay.
No, there was no sound because they was preparing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She knows nothing about, no signs of the ship.
These are tests for the performance.
Keep quiet. Don't you know you? No. Keep quiet.
These graphic pictures, these pictures, the cover of their field was altered. He began to smash up the statues and pictures in the drawing room, gnash his teeth, both at the mouth.
Rangers. I'm scared of them.
I'm not scared, really, I'm not.
No letters about forgotten to read.
Telegram,
No telegrams.
it's glory. It's a great honor to welcome you.
Oh, Mr. Manager, I'm so interested in your factory.
I'm sorry, Miss Glory, it's strictly forbidden. The manufacture of artificial people is a secret. But I oblige a young lady who has come a long way. Certainly, Miss Glory, we have no secrets from you. What went wrong?
Your plan. You remember, Harry, when the working man in America revolted against the robots and smashed them up, and when the people gave the robots
Just to So, and I will conclude in 2 minutes, so if there is any question, to give time for question in case there are. So, we created this programmable robotic mask, as I said, adapting Ableton. In this version, it was a teaser version, a testing version, so not the ultimate one for the live performance. So with all the bugs, all the issue of the case, we program this robotic mask. We try to work on machinic voice versus human body, machinic voice versus human voice, and also to try to delete one of the main element of the from actors in that case, that is the delivery of the speech, and consider a mix between human actor as a cyborg performer, the cyborg performer together with the human actor. In this context, however, because of also the profile of Guy that is coming from the world of sculpture, from performative installation and sculpture. Okay, I was reading the chat. We consider also the space of possibility of participatory civic space. So in this case, we were also inspired by Joseph Beuys' concept of social sculpture, so the art sculpture can shape and influence how reality it is. So clearly this work, every time that we presented, and we presented in London, we presented in Prague, in Barcelona, now in 2027 will be probably reproduced, produced another time by possibly the RSA, the Royal Society of Art in London, starting a debate on automation and ethical elements of artificial intelligence. It's clear here we are not talking about the generative artificial intelligence, but the relation between mechanism and human body. To conclude, what we were trying to reproduce with our work in creating a relation with the audience, but also a relation between the robots and the performer, the robotic performer and the human performer, is the one that, for example, Emmanuel Levinas talk about in the philosophy of the other of relational ethics. So in the play, there is a line that we wanted to keep that is not without her. So how the evolution of ethics start and continues thanks to through relation with the other one. So in the case of the play, also a war, also destruction, also an extinction is a relation that give them to the robot machine the possibility to evolve in something else. Uh, we consider the element of transformation rather than extinction that at the end is the open conclusion that Karel Čapek is going to say. I say at the beginning, there is riot, rebellion, extinction, but this extinction can become transformation, and also how to consider how art can renegotiate the human condition in a visual way. And I just leave like so the 5-7 minutes for question in case. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this fascinating presentation and for your brilliant speech. I want to ask participants, guests, to ask questions. If you have any questions. If no, I have one question. I see hands. Okay, I have one question about you mentioned about post-dramatic theory.
Yes, Lehman. Yes.
Can you tell us more about this theory? Because in music we have a post-genres period, so era of post-genre.
Yeah.
So when all genres in music are transformed, and that's why we call it post-genre era. This was very new for me. So post-dramatic theater theory. Sorry, my long question.
I will generalize now for due to the time, and the post-dramatic theater was something that first was not first theorized, but he became something very important thanks to a book of 1999 by Hans Thies Lehmann, a seminal theater theorist who passed away this year, unfortunately, that basically was considering some tradition, some theater practice from the 50s, 60s on till nowadays, and is a kind of concept that also nowadays is a little bit debate. So starting from Lehmann theory, so in the concept, so every play is a drama. Considering the word drama not as a genre, dramatic, comedy, but drama as something that is plot-driven with some specific convention. So the convention, for example, of a character, of the cause and effect in terms of time, the logic sequence, dialogues, both in terms of content, but also in the shape of a script, because the content and the shape of the script go together. So Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, stage direction, dialogue, open bracket, beat, silence, monologue, soliloquy, and so on. So what was arguing Lehmann is that in the fields of in the evolution of theater, of performing arts, in the theater-based performing arts, there was a kind of revolt against the script relevant, script predominance, so of the play as it is, and this was addressing both the way how we see the play, how we write the play, how physically we can see the paper of a play and the codification of a play, but also the content, asking question: why do we need characters? Why do you need an idea of time? Why do we need dialogue? Why everything should be so clear and not blurry? And he was not theorizing something for the future, but reading performance that were in the past. That clearly are the performances that are coming from all the different traditions that we have in acting, in script writing, in directing. Tadeusz Kantor, for example, in the fields of post-dramatic, Alan Capro, for example, with The Happening. Also in this merging of performing arts and performance art. And so there are elements such as no logical connection between time, the idea of time, what is happening here, now and later are relevant. Characters, Hamlet machine, there are characters, one character is a monologue, is a play for 100 people, is a play for 10 people, for 10 performers. It can be whatever. And also an idea that finally something that is script-wise needs really the performative part. So, for example, in my country, the idea of post-dramatic theater is also connected to a concept. What is drama? What is dramatic literature? What is a play? What is not a play? Clearly is not a movement, is not a genre, so is an entire word. In the work that we did, the first part is not post-dramatic. The second part is written in a post-dramatic way because each line is chasing the other one, and there is not a definition of characters, but everything can overlap, everything can be cut and read back, can be done in different way. But the first part is not. The second part is post-dramatic. But the mixing together of the two things want to go into the post-dramatic. And so basically what Lehman was trying to do is to give a codification and definition, an analysis of experience that were already existing. Cantor, Heiner Müller, Alan Capro, Fluxus movement. Also, for example, in the fields of post-dramatic theater, also the experience of musician John Cage, for example, John Cage in the relation with Merce Cunningham, even if he's in music and dance, is going into the fields of post-dramatic. So.
Thank you very much. And one more general question. How you think, what happens with the human identity and bioethics in the future, in this techno era, in the theater?
Okay, this is a very, this is a very relevant and big question. I don't have a real answer on that, but I have an impression on that that is coming from a practical feeling. I train a lot of actors in BA, master program, and so on. And clearly, one of the topics that we have to face in performance theory, in playwriting, transmedia playwriting, in acting technique is digital theater, cyber theater, online theater, robot theater, post-human theater, and so on. The feeling that I see, the emotion that I see in the actors when they see a robotic performance, it can be even this one where the robots are clearly robots, or the one of Irato Rizza, where everything is uncanny. The new actors, they have fear. They're really scared. They're really scared. They find something very intimately scaring for them. And this, me personally, I find very interesting in a way how we can use and we can seeing as a tool, not seeing as a replacement. It's the same thing with the generative artificial intelligence. It can be a tool, it can be an instrument, but not a replacement. So I'm between. I'm at the moment, me personally, I'm very curious more than scared. But I can see younger generation that should be much more used to emerging technology, very scared. But clearly because they don't have an established pathway in front of them, so they are literally scared of something they don't know. While we can have the privilege to be curious about them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If no questions, thank you very much. And I want to thank also Anukin